Iraqi air bases housing US troops attacked by Iranian missiles. More than a dozen Iranian surface-to-surface missiles hit Ain al-Assad and Erbil air bases in Iraq. Iran says the attack is a measure in self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif says Iran does not seek escalation or war but will defend itself against any aggression. US President Donald Trump takes an assessment of the casualties and damages of the attack, says all is well. The President of the United States will make a statement on the crisis later tonight. Official news agency of Iran confirms that all the 176 passengers dead after Ukrainian airliner crashes in southern Tehran. Iran state television says plane crashed due to technical problems. The External Affairs Ministry issues travel advisory for Iraq, advises Indians to avoid all the non-essential travel to Iraq until further notification. And the centre moves Supreme Court seeking transfer of all the petitions against the CAA pending in different high courts of the country to the top court. The Chief Justice of India says the court will consider the plea on Friday. Hello and good afternoon. You're watching Doordarshan News with me, Nancy Kohli. Our top story: more than a dozen ballistic missiles have been launched at East 2 Iraqi bases housing US troops early this morning. The White House spokeswoman Stephanie Grisham said that President Donald Trump has been briefed on reports of the attack on the US facilities in Iraq and is monitoring the situation. There was no immediate report of any casualty, though. Pentagon said it is working on initial battle damage assessments. Pentagon spokesperson Jonathan Hoffman said the U.S. military will take all the necessary measures to protect U.S. personnel as well as American partners and allies in the region. The attack on the Ain al-Assad airbase came after pro-Tehran factions in Iraq had vowed to join forces to respond to an American drone strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani and Iraqi top commander Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis in Baghdad last week. White House spokeswoman Stephanie Grisham said that President Donald Trump has been briefed on reports of the attack on the U.S. facilities in Iraq and is monitoring the situation. In the wake of these events, U.S. has also restricted its aircraft from flying over Iraq, Iran and the Persian Gulf. Jonathan Hoffman, assistant to the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs, in a statement said that at approximately 5:30 local time on 7th January, that is 4:30 in the morning according to the Indian Standard Time, Iran launched more than a dozen ballistic missiles against U.S. military and the coalition forces in Iraq. Hoffman said it is clear that these missiles were launched from Iran and targeted at least to Iraqi military bases hosting U.S. military and the coalition personnel at Al-Assad and Erbil. He further said that the U.S. is working on initial battle damage assessment. The Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif in a tweet has said that Iran took and concluded proportionate measures in self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter, targeting bases from which cowardly armed attack against our citizens and senior officials were launched. He said Iran does not seek escalation of war but will defend against any aggression. Meanwhile, the slain military leader General Qasem Soleimani was buried in his hometown in Karman amid a sea of crowd. Yesterday, more than 50 mourners had died in the stampede during funeral procession. Now, in the wake of the U.S. air bases attacked by the Iranian missiles, U.S. President Donald Trump has tweeted, and I quote, "All is well." Missiles launched from Iran at 2 military bases located in Iraq. Assessment of the casualties and damages now taking place. So far, so good. We have the most powerful and well-equipped military anywhere in the world by far. I will be making a statement tomorrow morning, unquote. And the U.S. lawmakers have reacted sharply to the attack on the air bases in Iraq. Listen in.
Very troubling. It's early. We know as many as 12 missiles have been launched. We'll have to determine how many of them successfully hit their targets, whether or not our defenses are able to mitigate some of that. We'll have to take a look at it overnight and then respond appropriately.
First, my immediate concern is for the safety and security of American troops, as well as those who are our partners in the region. My hope and prayer is that there haven't been American casualties, and we don't yet know that tonight. I think it's important that we consult with our allies in the region, that the President consult with Congress, and that he put forward a clear strategy for how to de-escalate this particular situation so we do not end up stumbling into another large-scale war in the Middle East.
I want to know whether the Iranians were shooting at our people or at infrastructure. But it is clear this is just another example of Iran trying to export terrorism.
And let's now give you a brief background as to how the events have unfolded. On 27th December 2019, a rocket attack on an Iraqi military base in Kirkuk killed a U.S. contractor and wounded several U.S. service members. Now, blaming Iran-backed militias Kataib Hezbollah for the attack, the U.S. had fired on its bases in retaliation. At least 25 fighters were killed and 55 others were injured following the air attacks in Iraq on 29th December. On 31st December, enraged members and supporters of pro-Iranian paramilitary groups in Iraq broke into the heavily fortified U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad. In another retaliatory attack on 3rd of January this year, U.S. killed the Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani. He was the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Force as well. Now, with these escalating tensions, NATO suspended its training missions in Iraq, citing security concerns. And later on, Iran also summoned various diplomats, including those from Germany, Switzerland and the US. Iraq's parliament passed a resolution for the US and other foreign troops to leave its soil for violation of its sovereignty and agreements of security cooperation by the US. Also, Iran had announced rollback of its commitments under its 2015 nuclear deal with the 6 major powers. Now, with the arrival of the coffin of the slain general, hundreds of thousands Iranians flood Tehran streets to mourn his demise. Citing security and foreign policy reasons, the US also denied Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif visa that would have allowed him to attend a UNSC meeting at New York. And to avenge the death of Soleimani, Iran launched the missile attacks onto US air bases in Iraq this morning. The Iranian state TV has reported that a Ukrainian airplane carrying 167 passengers and crew has crashed near the airport in Iranian capital Tehran. Ukraine confirmed that all the people on board, including 167 passengers and 9 crew members, are killed in the crash. The cause of the crash is yet to be ascertained. And the External Affairs Ministry has issued travel advisory for Iraq. The ministry spokesperson in a tweet has said, of the prevailing situation in Iraq, Indian nationals are advised to avoid all the non-essential travel to Iraq until further notification. The Indian nationals are residing in Iraq are advised to alert and may avoid travel within Iraq. He further tweeted, "Our embassy in Baghdad and the consulate in Erbil will continue to function normally to provide all the services to Indians residing in Iraq." Meanwhile, the Federal Aviation Administration has issued notices to airmen outlining flight restrictions. The official Twitter account of the administration wrote on Twitter, I quote, "No terms issued outlining flight restrictions that prohibit U.S. civil aviation operators from operating in the airspace over Iraq, Iran, and the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman," unquote. And Egypt Air, Egypt's flag carrier, has said it will suspend its flights to the Iraqi capital Baghdad for 3 days starting from today because of the unstable security situation in Iraq. The suspension that will continue until Friday was taken for the safety of the passengers and planes and until security situation stabilizes in the city. Travel advisory has also been issued by Singapore and China to avoid the airspace over the Gulf region. The Malaysian Airlines have also joined the list of airlines that will avoid the airspace of Iran following any escalation in the military tensions in the region after the US airstrike that killed top Iranian commander Qasim Suleimani. And moving on now to news from back home, 10 central trade unions have called for a nationwide strike today. The strike has been called against certain government policies concerning prices, public sector undertakings, foreign direct investments and labour laws. On the agenda are the farmers' issues as well, including that of the minimum support price and the supply of adequate ration. The centre has sought transfer of all the petitions filed against the CAA pending in all the different high courts to Supreme Court. In this connection, the CI S.A. Bobde said that the Apex Court will consider the plea and has agreed to hear the petitions filed on the 10th of January. However, Supreme Court has argued that according to prima facie view, high courts should look into the CAA petitions, but if any conflict of opinion arises, Supreme Court will consider a look into it. Moving on now, Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena will be on a two-day official visit to India from today. The Sri Lankan minister will hold delegation-level talks with the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. J. Shankar, during which a gamut of bilateral issues will come up for discussion. In the economic projects, investment by Indian companies, the issue of fishermen and stability in the Indian Ocean region are among the main issues likely to be discussed between the two leaders. He is also scheduled to visit Mahabodhi Temple in Bodh Gaya on Friday before returning home. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa visited India in late November, soon after he took office as the new head of the state. President Rajapaksa has called for investment by Indian companies, particularly in the high-tech sector. An update now on the weather conditions from the national capital, where rain slashed parts of Delhi NCR early this morning, and the rain during the rush hour caused traffic snarls at various places. The weathermen have predicted heavy downpour throughout the day with the possibility of hailstorm in isolated areas. According to railway officials, 16 trains were running late over the northern route due to bad weather. In Himachal Pradesh, normal life has been thrown out of gear as higher areas of Himachal Pradesh are receiving continuous heavy snowfall since last night. The roads between Shimla, Kufri and Narkamda has been closed due to snow. The Pan in Chamba has been cut off from the rest of the world, and similar conditions are growing in Kinnaur and Lahaul Spiti. However, the Public Works Department has been making all efforts to clear the roads. All the communication lines are also not working in these areas. The Shimla Met Department has predicted a fresh western disturbance that has intensified the cold conditions all over the state. Meanwhile, in Kulu, heavy snowfall is expected for the next 2 days. Besides that, the middle and the low hills of the state will also witness rain and hailstorm. INS Sumedha, presently on anti-piracy patrol in the Gulf of Aden, came to the rescue of the crew of the Dhau Al-Hamid on 6th of January. A traditional wooden vessel known as Dhau Al-Hamid was detected by an helicopter launched from the deck of INS Sumedha that confirmed that the vessel was in distress and drifting near the coast of Somalia. A boarding team along with a naval technical team embarked Al-Hamid for routine checks on board and rendered assistance. The crew of Al-Hamid comprised 13 Indian citizens. The technical team assessment revealed that the Dhau had suffered a broken main engine shaft that was not repairable at sea. The Dhau was then towed to safety away from the Somali coast. Meanwhile, the owner of the Dhau, Al-Hamid, has sent another vessel for towing the Dhau to port for repairs. And before departure, the Indian naval ship Sumedha provided fresh water and medical supplies to the crew of the Dhau. Dozens of Australian firefighters formed a guard of honour and stood with hand on heart to bid a solemn farewell to their colleague firefighter. Andrew O'Dwyer, one of the 3 volunteers firefighter killed when his fire truck crashed while battling Australia's bushfires. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison also paid heartfelt tributes to the departed soldier. The New South Wales Rural Fire Services Commissioner Shane conferred medals and a fire helmet to the family of the firefighter. The young daughter of a firefighter received her father's service medal. In emotional scenes, the toddler wore her father's medal and a fire helmet in front of his coffin, and she refused to leave his coffin's side. Moving on now from back home, and let's get you this ground report now. Pradhan Mantri Bharati Jan Aushadhi Yojana was launched, aimed at providing quality medicines at affordable prices for all. Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana stores have been set up all across the country to provide generic medicines at a much cheaper price. The scheme is showing positive results in Assam's Dibrugarh. Let's take a look at this ground report.
Under Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Yojana, Jan Aushadhi stores have been set up all across the country to provide quality generic medicines at a much cheaper price than the market. One such store was opened in Assam's Dibrugarh in mid-2017. Samundari Rabidas, the owner of the store, expresses her happiness to be associated with the scheme. She says it is a great initiative by the government as it is helping the poor get access to quality medicines at a nominal price. Even the buyers of the medicines are happy and satisfied with the scheme and grateful to the government for introducing the scheme.
बेरोजगार हूँ, लेकिन मुझको एक फार्मेसी मोदी सरकार ने दिया, जिसके वजह से मैं आज स्वावलंबी हूँ, अपने पैरों पर खड़ी हूँ, और इसमें मेरा इंटरेस्ट इसलिए आया कि इसका दवा का दाम बहुत कमती है।
जेनरिक मेडिसिन के लिए जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री ने जो ये योजना चलाई है, इसके लिए मैं उनको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करते हैं। तो हम जब बाजार से जो कप ड्रॉप लेते हैं वो हमको 50 से 60 के अंदर मिलता है, वही हमें जेनरिक मेडिसिन में 15 से 20 में उपलब्ध हो जाता है। तो ये बहुत ही अच्छी शुरुआत है। और जो हम दर्द के लिए अगर कोई बाहर से लेते हैं तो वो हमको 70 से 80 रुपये तक मिलती है, वही हमको यहाँ 15 से 20 में मिल जाती है। तो इसके लिए हम माननीय प्रधानमंत्री का धन्यवाद करते हैं।
मम्मी का शुगर और प्रेशर दोनों है, तो बहुत जानकारी के बाद यहाँ पता चला कि यहाँ सस्ते दाम पे दवा मिलती है, तो मैं यहाँ से ले जा रहा हूँ और अच्छा रिस्पांस मिल रहा है। ये बहुत ही अच्छा स्टेप सरकार ने लिया है और सरकार से यही गुजारिश है कि ये हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे या हर लोकल लेवल पे ये अवेलेबल कराए स्टोर को और अधिक से अधिक लोगों को जानकारी उपलब्ध कराए।
जैसे गरीब लोग हैं, हम लोग के पिछड़े समाज है, तो कोई प्रोवाइड नहीं कर सकते हैं, ले नहीं सकते दवाई। जैसे बड़ी बीमारियों का भी यहाँ पे दवाई आजकल मिलता है, तो लेने से मतलब क्या होता है, इसका सुविधा हो गया है, सबको इजीली मिलता है, कम पैसे में भी हो जाता है, ट्रीटमेंट हो जाता है, तो सब लोग का लाइफ भी सिक्योर हो रहा है। इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो किया है तो बहुत बढ़िया है, और हम भी यहाँ से तो लेते ही हैं और दूसरों को भी बोलते हैं।
Interestingly, it is not only the people buying medicines, even the employees of Jan Aushadhi Kendra are benefiting from this scheme. Pratap Yadav, one such employee, says that this scheme is also playing a crucial role in employment generation by providing employment to many like him.
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि हमें जन औषधि का जो प्रयोग किया है और भी ऐसा लागू करें और भी ऐसी फार्मेसियाँ खुलें ताकि हमारे गरीब हैं, हम गरीबों को रोजगार मिलता है, हम यहाँ काम करते हैं, हम गरीब आदमी हैं, हमारे पेट चलते हैं, हमारे बाल बच्चे के पेट भरते हैं, ऐसे ही और डिब्रूगढ़ में फार्मेसी खुले।
Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Yojana indeed is proving to be a boon for all across the country. Bureau Report, DD News.
And Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, an initiative of the central government, was launched with the objective to provide affordable housing to the financially weak. With the target of building 20 million houses by 31st March 2022, the scheme is being implemented in full swing all across the country. Here's a ground report to see the impact the scheme is having in Kollam district of Kerala.
Meet Tirtha, a student of Standard 1. Her happiness knows no bounds, as this Onam was the first she celebrated in her own home. her parents are related to. They are among the 1,479 families who got a house under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana this Onam season in Kollam district in Kerala. Most of them till now were living either in rented accommodations or with their relatives. Thanks to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, their long cherished dream of owning a house has been fulfilled. The security and satisfaction of staying with their families in their own house is unmatched for them.
Earlier I lived in a thatched house. During rainy season, water used to leak through the roof. Life was tough. We could not even celebrate Onam properly. Our house was in a dilapidated condition. We had no choice but to celebrate Onam there. We are so happy to get a house under the scheme. I never thought that our dream of owning a house would get fulfilled. We got a house under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. We are really happy.
In the previous years, we did not celebrate Onam. Our house was in a dilapidated condition. Our family members were scattered here and there as we lived in a rented house. After all these years, for the first time, we are living in a house with a bathroom. We have daughters. Earlier, they had to use bathrooms of neighbors at night. We applied for a house under the scheme and we got it. We are so happy.
At
least next year, we dream of celebrating Onam in our own house. We are hoping that our dream will be fulfilled.
Under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, financial assistance of 4 lakh rupees was given to families for building a house, with due care being taken that they do not face any administrative hassles. Many houses have been constructed and already been handed over to families, with many under construction to be handed out. Something that was deemed impossible has been made possible through Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and the smiles on the faces of people is a testimony of this. Bureau Report, DD News.
On to sports news now. Fast bowler Navdeep Saini led disciplined Indian bowling performance to set up a 7-wicket win over Sri Lanka in the second T20 International in Indore on Tuesday. Saini returned impressive figures of 218, while fellow paceman Shardul Thakur claimed 3 wickets to help restrict Sri Lanka to 142 for 9, a total the hosts surpassed in 17.3 overs to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series.
On a good batting surface, the inexperienced Sri Lankan batsmen squandered promising starts. Sri Lanka made a decent start after Kohli opted to chase on a batting beauty, reaching 48 for 1 in 6 overs. Their job was made harder by Navdeep Saini, Shardul Thakur and Kuldeep Yadav, who shared 7 wickets among themselves. Coming from a 3-month injury layoff, lead pacer Jasprit Bumrah did not look at his best, ending with figures of 32 for 1 in 4 overs, the most expensive after Kuldeep. Kusal Perera top scored for Sri Lanka with an entertaining 34 of 28 balls. After reducing an inexperienced Sri Lanka to 142 for 9, KL Rahul provided a perfect start, taking India to 54 for no loss in 6 overs. Rahul, who top scored with 45, and Shikhar Dhawan, who made 32 on his return from injury, put on 71 runs for the opening wicket to lay the platform for India's comfortable chase on a good batting pitch. Leg spinner Wanindu Hasaranga sent back the 2 openers as he bowled Rahul with a googly and then dismissed Dhawan LBW after a successful Sri Lankan review. Shreyas Iyer, who scored 34 before falling to paceman Lahiru Kumara, and skipper Virat Kohli, who made an unbeaten 30 and hit the winning 6, put on a key 51-run stand for the 3rd wicket. Sri Lanka's hopes were all but demolished by then. Kumara eventually took the finishing blow as Kohli pulled him for a 6-over deep square leg to send Indore into delirium as India coasted to a 7-wicket victory. Sports Desk, DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. Thanks for being with us.